Welcome to today's journal activity slash mini lesson. This is called Place Value Flip Flop. For this, you're going to need a deck of cards, a pen or pencil, and your notebook. And that's it. Let's get started. Place value is a system for naming numbers, and the place of a number tells you its value. So each number here, if you look at 4, 5, and 2 separately, 4, 5, and 2 on their own, they have their own meanings. But when we put them in order like this, 452, so the number in this spot is 400. We say 100. The number in this spot gets one of these special ones, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. It gets one of the decade names. And the ones, whatever number is in the one spot, just gets to have its regular numeral name. I have this notebook here. There is also a printable available that you can print and not have to make all the charts. But we're gonna start here. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in. There we go. So we're gonna play place value flip-flop. And what you need is your math journal with some place value charts. So I'm gonna start with 10s and 1s, and then I'll work my way up to bigger numbers. You need a deck of cards, and you wanna go through this deck of cards and pull out your 10s, pull out your jokers, the face cards, so kings, queens, jacks, and you can leave ace. Ace is going to stand for 1. Sorry, 10. I've got all my cards sorted here, and all I'm going to do, so this is how you play place value flip-flop. You have your cards. Oh, a pen will help too. I'm going to use a pencil to fill in my chart. So a place value chart just lists off the 10s and 1s, the different place values, different spaces, so that you can write it in. So we're going to start with 10s and 1s. So if I'm making a number of 10s and 1s, I need 2 cards. So I put my 2 cards down and I flip them over. And I look at this as if it's a number. So I have a 3 and a 2. If I put the 3 in the 10 spot and a 2 in the 1 spot, I get the number 32. Now if I flip-flop them, flip-flop, and I put the 2 in the 10 spot and the 3 in the 1 spot, I get 23. So just by changing the place of the number, I am changing its value. So here I'm gonna write 30, nice and clear. 32 is the name of that number. And if I flip-flop them, I flip-flop their place value, I get 23. And there is a handy list of number words as well as place value charts that you can print to help you out. Okay, and we are going to move up to now work with 100, which means we're gonna need 3 cards. So I shuffle my cards, I give myself 1, 2, 3, and then I look, and I'm just going to take the number as it first comes. So 953. And I would just write them down. 953. And I'm going to write the name for that. 953. Now, we don't say 953 because when you get up into different math with decimals, it starts to get confusing. Don't get upset with yourself if you find yourself saying 953. That's how a lot of people talk. But get into the habit of saying 953. Now I'm going to take these exact numbers and flip-flop them around. So it doesn't really matter what order I do it in, as long as they're not in the same as they were. Put them all in a different spot. So now I have 3 hundreds, 9 10s, 9 10s, and 5 1s. So if I read that, 395. 395. So I'm going to write the name of that number. 395. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to label them. So greater, 953 is greater, and 395 is the lesser number. I could also say big and small. when I'm comparing them. So 953 is greater, 395 is lesser. We are using the same numerals, 3, 5, and 9, and we're mixing them up. Depending where your numeral lands, it's changing the value of the number. And we're gonna start our next round, which is into the thousands. And I'm actually gonna use 2 different colors because I think that'll make it easier to see on the screen. So if I'm making a number in the thousands, how many digits do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna pull 4 cards. Shuffle my cards. And this one jumped out, it wants to come. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm gonna make my number with whatever numerals I was given. So I was given an 8, 5, a 4, and a 3. And now when you do this, obviously your numbers are gonna be different, but the process is the same. So I was given 8, 5, 4, and a 3. Now if I'm gonna write those in my place value chart, I'm gonna write 8 in the thousands, 5 in the hundreds, 4 in the tens, and 3 in the ones. Now if I read that number, I get 8,543. And I'm gonna write that in my little spot here. 8,400. Oh, I made a mistake. It's 500. See? Mistakes are totally cool, and part of it, I just cross it out. 543. So 8,543. 8,543. Now I'm gonna flip-flop these numbers and see what I can make. 3. And my goal is to make it so the numbers are not in the same, no number is in the same spot as it was before. Okay, looks like I've done it. So this time I have 3,800 and, oh, I said and, 3,854. We're gonna practice saying it the right way. Okay, so 3,854. Now I'm gonna write that down, and I'm gonna pay more attention this time. I made a mistake last time, and that shows me I need to be paying more attention. So 3,000. 800. 54. As easy as that. So we made 2 numbers using the same numerals. These numbers have different values. Some of their different value can be explained with words like greater. 8,543 is greater. It is the bigger number. If someone said, do you want $3,854 or $8,543? It's good to know that this is more money. Okay, and then I have, this one would be less than, the lesser number, or the smaller. Both of those words mean the same thing. Bigger, smaller. I didn't mean to put the bigger number on top. It's just how it's worked out both times. So you can begin to see how we are naming numbers. If we change the place of the numerals, we change the value of the numbers. So this is what this math menu place value flip-flop choice is all about. So we are going to move on to even bigger numbers because remember, we're working our way up to 1,000,000. Just be mindful of your own math comfort level if you need to take a break, because you're taking care of yourself, right? You're making a choice that makes your brain comfortable so you can best learn. The next one that I'm working on is into the 10,000s. And this one seems, my writing had to get smaller because I had to fit more numbers, more words. So we're working on a 5-digit number, which is working into the 10,000s. Remember, you can just watch this a couple times if the thought of working into the 10,000s stresses you out. So I'm gonna pull 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because when we're working in the 10,000s, it's a 5-digit number. I'm going to flip the cards and take them in the order that they were flipped. So 9, 6, 9, 4, 4. What's with all the doubles? It's because I said that I wanted them to all be in different spaces. And now I'm challenged. Okay, so let's make two numbers. The first number I'm going to make is, I'm gonna put 6. So I've got 96,944. And I'm going to have to write that really, really small.
96,944.
My goal here of having every number in a different spot doesn't work so well when I have doubles, but I'm just gonna mix them up. So I'm gonna put the 9s and the 4s, switch them, and then I'm gonna put doot, doot, and I'm gonna keep those 9s together. So they're kind of all in different spaces, except for the 6. Actually, if I was to switch this with this, they would all be in different spaces. So I start with my 10,000. So I've got 44,699. I've made my numbers, I flip-flop them around. Using the same numerals, changing their place, I've changed the value of the number.
44,699. 99.
So I've got 96,944 and 44,699. Flip-flopping those numbers changes it completely. So my bigger number, big, is here. And my smaller number, and I refuse to call this number small, so I'm gonna put smaller in brackets. It's my smaller number. And I flip-flop them. We've worked into the 10,000s. Are you ready? I'm gonna show you how to work into the 100,000. That's right, a 6-digit number. So we've done 2 digits, 3 digits, 4 digits, 5 digits, and now we're doing 6 digits, which means I need 6 cards. I think they need a bit of a shuffle because I seem to be getting lots of doubles. It's almost like someone played Go Fish with these cards recently. So shuffle up my cards, and then I'm going to give myself 6 cards to make 6 digits. My digits are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the numerals, the numbers that I get to make this, and I can put them in whatever order I want. I'm just going to take them as they were dealt. So there are my numbers. I'm going to put them into my place value chart to make my first number, which is 74,700. Wait. Oh, I was doing 10,000s. We're in the 100,000s, Rebecca. Come on. 747,132. So let's write that. 747,132. The chances of me writing this in a size of font that you can see is very slim, but I will do my best.
747,132. I'm gonna make it really small. 32.
Oh, it fit. You might want to give yourself more room when you make your place value chart in your math journal, but I'm just learning as I go here. So one thing I was just thinking as we were doing that, when you're naming 100,000s, if you just take the first 3 digits, 747,000, 747,132. I like to name it, I like to look at the first 3 digits and the second 3 digits and just add 1,000 in there and read them. So 747,132. What other number can I make if I flip-flop these numbers? Or these numerals, what number can I make? So let's look here. I'm just gonna go try to make sure that they're not in the same spot as they were before. So I'm gonna flip-flop my numbers and mix them up as much as I can, remembering that this is just for fun. Okay, aces are 1s. We're gonna write out this number. So the way I block them out, remember my first 3 numbers I read as 273,000. 273,000. 417. 417. If I break them up, it makes it way easier to name them. 273,417. So breaking those up and making them easier to read. Whew, okay, now I have to try and write them in this teeny tiny font and fit all of that here before we move on to million. Okay, let's do it.
So 200. 273,000. 417.
Okay, I broke some laws of writing, but I fit it in there. Now that we've done those two numbers, just looking at them to compare them, I would say 747,132 is bigger or greater if you can read my writing there. And then 273,417 is small, and I refuse to call it small, so I'm gonna say smaller. It's the smaller of the two numbers. We use the same numerals. We use those same cards. This is just illustrating, it's showing us how that place value changes the meaning of the numbers. That's why it's important if you're copying down a number, you get the order correct. Because if you flip two numbers, you're going to change the value of the number and things get confusing. So make sure when you're writing down numbers, pay attention to the order that they go in. That's something that I, to this day, have to work on because my brain likes to flip-flop the numbers in my head. So writing them down slowly and paying attention to place value and saying their name out loud, all of those things help me understand the numbers better. Okay, you've been waiting. You've been waiting for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds, and now we're finally getting into it. We are going to make a number in the millions. So this is as high as I'm going today for the place value. Up to $1 million is a great starting point for all of your math needs. $1 million is how many digits? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. $1 million is a 7-digit number. So since this is our last round, I'm gonna make sure to shuffle well, or well enough. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I'm gonna give myself 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I've made number, flip it over. I'm just gonna put them in the order that they came. Okay, and with millions, I have another trick. Just like I did before, I break it into parts. So just like I did with the 100,000s. I'm gonna write it 8 million. And then the next one, 216,000. 2, 1, 6. And then I have 767. 767. So 8,216,767. That's a big number. And I like to group them just like I did with the other ones, just to make it easier to read. I am going to write this down on the bottom here. I left myself plenty of space because I'm learning as I go. So 8 million, I just make an arrow. Boop, this is my math journal. It can look how it wants. I have so much room, I'm gonna make big letters.
8 million. 216,000. 216,000. 767. 767.
Now, can you see why we use numbers and why our system of place value, where we place a number, helps us to read the number and name the number? If we had to write out every number in words, that would be a lot. I only make kids do that a few times a year because it's a pain. But we're gonna do it today to practice, and then once you feel comfortable with it, you can put it on the shelf and not have to do it every time you make your numbers. But it helps us when we're learning the place value and reading big numbers. We're gonna do the next number. We're gonna flip-flop and make a new number. I'm going to put a circle around this because it's one number and it's a big one. And we are going to move on to mixing them up. So putting everything in a different spot from where it was before. I hope 6 was there before, so I'm gonna put this one. 1, 6. Okay, so remember my trick. Put my I write them all in and then I group them to read them. So I'm gonna grab my second pen color. 7,871,626. 626. Use those circles to help you. If this helps you practice naming your numbers, it's how I like to do it. It's also pretty. So let's look. We're going to name this number 7 million.
716,000.
760. Oh, hold on. Nope, I made a mistake. That happens. I was looking here instead of looking here. 800. 871,000. Now, this is an example of how it's okay to make a mistake and why we look back at our work and we try to make sure that we're aware of what we're writing down and we write down the numbers in the right order. My brain gets very confused. You just saw it happen. 7,871,000. You're like me, sometimes covering it up even helps because I get confused just seeing those numbers. So now that I've made it so I'm only looking at one number, it's easier for my brain to work. 71,800, 71,600. We're reading this last one here, 626. 626. A note on colors. I love making my journal notes, all my notes in color. That's how my brain thinks. If your brain thinks that way, I recommend you try it when you do this activity, this game. It's going to make it a little bit more fun, making it pretty. Now, if you think, nope, I don't want to draw and make it pretty, I just want to practice, there is a printable, which you can also use colored pens to complete, or pencils, or whatever it is that you feel like. So the printable is available, and it also comes with there's also printable with the names of numbers for spelling so that there's no stress. So you're going to start with tens and then hundreds and then thousands. And if that's where you feel that you're comfortable, you stop, take a break, practice here. I encourage you to be aware of your comfort level and push yourself into bigger numbers when you're ready. So when naming the 10,000s gets easy, 96,944, and then you can move on to the 100,000s. And when that feels easy, move on to the millions. And remember, there's no timeline for this. Practice as many times as you need to. You could even practice on a whiteboard or something that you could erase. Practice, practice, practice until it becomes comfortable, and then push yourself to the next level. Practice writing these words. It's not something you have to do every day, but it helps get it into your brain and helps you to understand. If you can understand place value and what these numbers mean, it makes the rest of math so much easier. I did not learn this properly until I was an adult in university. Nobody took the time to tell me what place value meant, and I never figured it out. And so I'm showing you because it does make math so much easier. So have a look at your math comfort level. Try this out in your math journal. And then when it feels fun, share it with everyone.